Hey guys, Dr. Morse here, Florida orthopedic specialist in the Treasure Coast of Florida, as well as the fantasy doctors. Some unfortunate news regarding New England Patriots running back Rex Burkhead, as he suffered a neck injury in the Week 3 loss that was ugly in its own right to the Lions. But when he was returning a kickoff, or in a kickoff coverage, his neck kind of whiplashed back. And I don't think he played the rest of the game. If he did, it was very few and far between. Either way, he was placed on IR today, which is a big deal. They haven't specified what the extent of the injury is yet, but I'm going to provide you some hopeful clarity today, possibilities about what it possibly could be. And other things. I don't know if this is the short-term IR where he can come back in like week 8 or whatever, or if this is like done for the year. I don't think they've released that yet either. So what do we know about Burkhead's injury from the past couple of weeks? Well, he suffered a concussion in week 1. Much to my surprise, he was able to play in week 2. Now, concussions, each one is different, and especially depending on the severity, it can lead to sometimes being out for long periods of time. Well, about 70 to 80-ish% of sports-related concussions resolve within 7 to 10 days, sometimes up to 14 days. So he met that timeline. I was a little surprised they pushed him back that quickly. I know they're thin at running back at the time, but still, you do not want to push someone back. But my suspicion is he passed all the protocols. It was the mildest of mild concussion, and he was ready to rock and roll. Well, the problem is you have a window, a theoretical window, for about 60 to 90 days after that concussion where you're at high risk for another concussion. Now, whenever we see this whiplash effect, you think of like a car accident where you get hit from behind and you have what we call a coup or contra coup injury of that whiplash, where your head kind of snaps back and all that force and energy goes one way and then kind of whips back into the other way, usually causing some temporary brain damage, hence concussion. Well, this could have very well happened again. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with 2 concussions in that short period of time, although we can't confirm this, that's bad sign. This very well could have been a neck sprain. Likely that's not enough to put him on IR, so I doubt it's that mild. It could be a neck, fracture of bone in his neck, very well possible. And that is obviously a huge deal. I don't know if he was having any peripheral symptoms like numbness and tingling in his hand, or inability to move one arm, or anything like that, or bilaterally. If it's one side, it's usually classified as a stinger, and if it goes away during that game, usually you can respond and return to play. If it's bilateral, you should automatically be shut down for the game, mandatory, and then they need an MRI to evaluate what we call spinal cord reserve. So basically the fluid on each side of the spinal cord where it's getting pushed. And then after that, it can be a little challenging to decide whether or not that player should return. That's another possibility. But obviously there's a lot of things in between that that I could speculate all day about what it possibly could be. Either way, it's unfortunate that the Patriots are even thinner than they were last week at running back, because now they basically have James White and Sony Michel. They already lost Hill to the ACL, and they just signed Keyshawn Barner, but I don't really expect him to be of any significance. And Bolden's gone, so we know they're really thin no matter what. So I don't know, maybe they can work a trade or something. This additionally means that obviously you can drop him if you have him in fantasy football. Even in a dynasty, I'd be overly concerned about this injury. One additional thought is this could be what we call second impact syndrome. So typically this happens when someone suffers a concussion and returns too soon and then suffers a new concussion from a subconcussive blow, so like a light hit. and it causes significant injuries. These are usually what end up causing CTE and stuff like that, from what we know, even that's not clear. This is usually in younger patients, I think teenagers or high schoolers, even younger than that. So not as common in adults, but it's possible. Again, I'm speculating, but I'm just trying to think of what the possibilities could be. So that's my thoughts on the Patriots' Rex Burkhead's neck injury that placed him on IR today, Wednesday. What's today? The 26th of September. So this is Dr. Morse from the Fantasy Doctors and Florida Orthopedic Specialists in Stuart, Florida. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave them at the bottom or send me a tweet, or check out my website, www.drjessemorse.com, as well as the Fantasy Doctors, as we have a ton of new stuff coming out every day. And we'll talk about this on my podcast tonight with my partner, Celine Perek, and we'll see. I want to hear what his thoughts are. So check that out when it drops. All right, take care, guys.